I thought would be a fun thing that I may continue to do this as a segment in other episodes of my podcast is what I call the dream set list. So I put together a dream set list for Foo Fighters as if I was building it. This may not be necessarily like their greatest hits or their best songs or, favorites by like most fans and stuff. This is just my personal set list if I was Dave Grohl putting it together. So I gave them 25 tracks to play live. With 2025 coming to an end very soon, that means right about now is when concert announcements will start happening for next year. And it's hard for me being a big music fan and a concert person, and liking quite a variety of artists and comedians. It makes it very hard of trying to find what the right choice is of who to see, because I try not to repeat artists that I've seen before. Like there are some exceptions here and there, but for the most part, I try to see people that I've never seen before. Um, so next year, so far, what I have on the docket for confirmed shows is Foo Fighters and ACDC. Foo Fighters I've been a big fan of since 2021, and I've just really fell into their music, and I just love them so much. Uh, Big fan of Dave Grohl, and I feel like everyone who loves music kind of sees themselves in Dave Grohl just because he's such a fan of such a variety of different artists, and I just love that so much, and I see myself in him because I'm like I would be giddy too, being able to meet Paul McCartney and play with him or be friends and whatnot, and so many others are getting a CD from Paul Stanley. Um, of the new Kiss album, while you're dropping your kids off at school together. I mean, then AC/DC, I'm just, they're not one of my top bands, I would say, but it's like when you go through the list, there's just so many good songs that they have, and they're just such a bucket list kind of band that I want to see because they do put on a hell of a show, and it's just to be able to see them, live is just, you know, a huge thing. And so I snagged tickets for my dad and I for ACDC the other day. We're going to be seeing them in Madison, Wisconsin at Camp Randall Stadium. I was really surprised that ACDC, booked a show there just because they played Chicago and Minneapolis last spring. So I was, kind of very pleasantly surprised that they would do a date like that that kind of meets on the in between of those cities. But, Madison's not all that far from Chicago. But I had a feeling ACDC would do a second leg of the US because if they did a second leg of Europe, I was like, the US definitely deserved another leg of dates. So I'm very happy about that. And then Foo Fighters, I snagged a pit ticket for that during the pre-sale, and I am pumped. It's going to be a long drive, but for myself, but it will be a lot of fun, and I'm just waiting to soak it all in. It's kind of been about 6 years in the making for trying to see Foo Fighters. I was supposed to see them in 2020, but then obviously the pandemic happened. I luckily was able to snag a couple tickets for that, and yeah, that concert never happened, obviously. And that would have been, when Taylor was still with us and still, playing with the band. It's a shame not to be able to see him because Foo Fighters is a totally different band without Taylor. I still love them, and I really enjoyed But Here We Are. And I think that Asking for a Friend is a decent song, and I enjoyed the Amazon Music Live thing that they did. But it's definitely a different band without them. Uh, I know Queens of the Stone Age are with them. I only know maybe like a song or two. I mainly know them for the song for the Deaf, which I know Dave played drums on that album. Like that main song, like it has quite a good drum intro to it. That I know, but other than that, I've heard they're pretty good, but I'm not familiar with them. And the other opener that they have with them, I've never heard of either. But they might be pretty good too. There's many bands that I've seen before for of opening bands, I should say, that I didn't know them before, and I ended up falling in love with their catalog. It's happened more than once, and I think that's kind of the surprise of going to a show is like maybe you don't deep dive the opening acts, music and maybe you just like let yourself find out what they got in the moment. It's really been fun with kind of doing that. I don't do that with everybody, but yeah, it's been kind of fun little surprise. Um, and then Pretty Reckless are opening for ACDC. I saw them last year at a headline show in Green Bay. Uh, Pretty good show. I do like the Pretty Reckless a lot. I like Taylor Momsen a lot, and I'm a huge fan of The Grinch. And so I still always think of her as Cindy Lou Who. It's hard not to. Uh, that's my favorite Christmas movie of all time. But her band really rocks. It's great. I thought Death by Rock and Roll, the whole thing all the way through, was a masterpiece. Um, and they were great live. My only, I guess, kind of complaint with that, this is a nitpick, but is that I was surprised that they pretty much did just about the same set for their headlining shows as they did for opening for ACDC last year. I thought they would have, either mixed it up a little bit or they could have played like an hour and a half to 2 hours. Like they played just barely over an hour. Again, it was a solid show, and I guess I understand the fact of like kind of the get in, get out mentality in a way. But I would have loved to have seen them, play more stuff. Because especially like Death by Rock and Roll, like I would never expect them to play the whole album, but there were at least several more songs that they could have played from that for sure. And I know that there were some others missing too. I can't think of them off the top of my head right now, but I I'm looking forward to seeing them, again. Very, very enjoyable and, very good opening act. I listened to a podcast the other day that Taylor Momsen was on, and she doesn't do a lot of them, but it was really cool kind of hearing, how her experience has been with opening up for ACDC and the friendships they've made. And I'm just really curious of, how this next run of shows is going to be. I'm sure it's going to be great. Uh, my dad doesn't know much of their stuff, so I'm really curious to see what he thinks when he sees them live. And he's aware of them, I believe, but I don't think that he knows all that much. But I know they'll put on a good performance, so I'm happy about that. Yeah. Backtracking to like what seats I got for that, we just got some ones like in the bowl, kind of straight back, So I usually try to be on the floor because if there's something I really want to see, I will pay the money for the better seats. I don't really try to nitpick about that as much because there's a lot of people when it comes to concert tickets because people have asked me, they're like, well, how much was this? How much was that? Because I don't say it's, but it's like if you're being asked an honest question, I'm gonna say what it is. And they're like, well, I could have got, this and this for that. But it's just like, it's different ways to think about it. And, different things are worth, uh, more to others than other people. I guess if that makes sense. But I don't know. Just to me, it's justified with being, such a big fan. Whatever prices, I will pretty much pay them. I know there's a lot of people that like, they wait till like kind of either the day of or like a couple of days before for ticket prices to go down. I haven't really ever done that, to be honest, just because for where I am, where I live, and I have to, drive to for these concerts, it's, hours and hours. So, like, I can't really just kind of drop everything on the, tip of a, hat and kind of run over there. I wish I did, and I'd like to, eventually move closer to where a lot of my concerts are, then I don't have, a several hour drive or more sometimes. That'd be a lot nicer. I guess it's just a goal for the future. Um, yeah, so that kind of makes it hard, just all the hours on the road sometimes. But I don't know, get in a lot of good podcasts that way too, or be able to listen to albums in full. Sometimes when there's been new albums released, so I do enjoy that. Like like for example, when Hardy released "Country Country," I was coming back from an Eric Church concert, and I was able to catch that right as it dropped at midnight because I was on the road anyway after the show. So that was kind of cool. So it does have its perks like that, but it does kind of suck all the hours on the road. But my town doesn't get concerts like that, and it doesn't have one enough of a population, and two like places to host these concerts. I have ideas for things they could do better, but who knows if they'd ever listen to me on that. And yeah, I don't know. I'm really looking forward to it. So, two big shows for July. So who else, who knows what else next year will hold. Again, as I said in the beginning of the episode, that it's hard for a music fan from probably like November to like January, just because now is the time when a lot of concerts are being announced because people get them as Christmas presents or just to play it out so far ahead of time. And yeah, I don't know. Some of them I do think though, like for Foo Fighters and ACDC, like being, like announced like 9, 10 months out does seem like a lot. But I guess too with stadiums you have a lot more tickets to move. But I don't know. Then I was also seeing too like an ACDC subreddit. Somebody had like screenshotted a few pictures of like of the seat maps on Ticketmaster and what they looked like, and they're like, "Oh, tickets are moving slow." But it's like, yeah, but it's so much like it's so far out, and it's like also they did just play here. I mean, they're playing different places. I believe Vegas is a repeat, I believe, but other than that, they didn't play in these other cities on the first leg in the U.S. So that's nice, like I said, to see them mixing it up. And I still can't believe, Madison got a show of all things. I wish, Lambeau would have, because for me personally, that would have been a bit closer. But, Lambeau does have Luke Combs going on, so that might be one possibly too. And yeah, speaking of that I mentioned Luke Combs is that he makes me think of other, concerts and shows that are kind of up in the air for me next year, and Luke Combs would be one for sure. I saw him before 3 years ago. He played the Resch Center in Green Bay. I barely snagged a ticket for that because where I was did not have a great reception at all, and I was using my data, and I barely had a couple bars. So I wanted to snag tickets for my brother and I, but I was barely just able to snag one for myself, and I was kind of in the middle of a row, not too far from the top. But I feel like too, like even though like usually like I enjoy being closer to the action and I don't mind paying more money for a much better seat, is that sometimes you're just glad to be in the room and be able to, finally see their music live and see them perform. And because I think you kind of get more of the full picture of when you go to see an artist live. So there was that for sure. And then the other thing that I noticed too was from up top, just sometimes too, the like specific height of stages does make a difference. Because like for Luke Combs' stage, it seemed like the people that were, I don't remember if there were chairs there. I think there was like maybe a pit closer to the stage around surrounding it. No, maybe did have chairs. Anyway, the seats on the floor, like it just seemed like when you would be standing to the stage, it seemed like this would be like the people, and up here would be the stage, and it just seemed like you'd be looking up like this. And that's actually kind of the same thought I had for this ACDC show. Like, I would have loved to have gotten a, seat in the pit, but by the time I got through the queue and stuff, which was only maybe about, 15, 20 minutes, which is not horrible. I only hopped on at like, uh, I think like 10 to, like for the time, starting, because they went on sale at 11 my time. Uh, so I probably should have hopped in like a half hour before, but who knew it was always going to be what exactly, because I didn't want to, just hop on that early and not even get in at all. So I kind of just rolled the dice. But I don't know. It would have been cool to be in the pit for that. But it's the same thing as like I was saying about the Luke Combs stage, is that from in videos and pictures I've seen of people that are like real close to ACDC stage that it's up just a little bit too high in my opinion, to where if you're really close to one part of the stage, like in the pit, you can't really see the rest of it. So it's like you're just kind of have like an obscured view. So it's like that kind of sucks too. So it's like you would be better off to be further away in the pit if you were there, like to see kind of more of the stage, or if you were to have another seat on the floor somewhere else, But because there were a few sections of seats that were opened up after I already, bought our tickets, and I was like, well, shit. But It is what it is, and I don't think our seats are bad as all are that bad. Again, a little bit further back than I wanted to, but I was like, I kind of feel like from being up in the bleachers a little bit that we'd have a good vantage point with the stage. So that's kind of my thought. So maybe it will work out. I mean, again, too, one of those, as I mentioned, just happy to be there. So not going to complain. And also, too, it's like the setup is huge and the screens are huge, so not going to miss anything. And I guess on the plus side is maybe it would be better being a little bit further back because then I'm not blowing up my camera roll or I'm not as tempted to take so many pictures and videos while I'm there. So that kind of might be nicer to be a little bit more in the moment. There's sometimes that I think about getting those meta glasses. Like I don't have them now, but I almost think like, man, that would be awesome because then I could just be like hands free and yeah, I don't, know totally how they work, but if I was able to be kind of more hands free and just watch the show and take pictures and video that way, or if I was able just to like, have a clicker or something, or however exactly they work, then I don't have to, pull my phone out every time to get some snapshots and little clips of things. I don't really ever record. I never record full songs. I just try to get like uh, you know, about like, minute clips or so, then they're easier to, post if I want to. Um, and that's what a little bit I want to do on some of my pages promoting this podcast is I also would like to post some of the clips and videos and, clips and videos, same thing, clips and pictures from concerts that I went to because I posted, most of the posts on my, personal Instagram and a lot on my Facebook. I did that too. Is that were of those, kind of things, but with having kind of it being a private account and kind of more of a closed circle, it's like there'd be like a handful of people liking it. To where if I start posting that kind of stuff just on the pages promoting this podcast, then I feel like it would get more love. And with it being open, then the artist maybe can see some of that stuff too. Just because, like, I think in my opinion, like I'm no expert, photographer or videographer. I just I got a phone that I feel like is decent, but I don't know. I just try to get what looks good for me, and it's hard a lot of sometimes too with how the lighting is, and that really plays a part. So try to kind of post the best stuff I can. There's some things I cringe about, like that I've taken or that I may have posted, and like I don't know how good that really looks, but it is what it is. But I don't know. That's kind of my thought. But backtracking is, yeah, I think it would be, kind of cool to, maybe be a little bit more in the moment, and maybe one day I will get meta glasses or something. I mean, there's a lot of weird things people can do with that. I don't really like that aspect of it, but I just think about it for the concerts, to be honest. I think would be awesome. I mean, if they allow them, I'm sure there'd be a lot of them that they'd be cracking down for, like especially comedians, because like you can't record or take pictures at most comedy shows, and I get that they're protecting their material and that's their livelihood. So that I do understand because I've read before like or heard people saying like, well, what why can't I blah blah blah, or like why do I have to lock it up in the yonder bag? I've actually never been at a show yet that I had to lock it up in a yonder bag because I have seen quite a few comedians, but I get it though. But then at the same point though, because I remember when I saw Tom Segura before, that like immediately when I got back in my car, I made some notes like about bits he did that I just thought were funny. I was like, if somebody had a really really good memory like myself, couldn't they kind of do that? But I guess it would be very hard to remember how the whole kind of joke goes, the cadence of it and stuff. But I don't know. I don't plan on doing any of Tom Segura's material anytime soon, but it was just a thought that I had. But I guess I'm just an outlier more so. But yeah. Anyway, so other shows I'm up on the air on besides Luke Combs next year. I'm waiting him out just to see what else happens because it's like again I've seen him before. It's uh be closer to 4 years by that time. And I know he has more material because with like growing up and then growing up and getting old than the father and son album. So there's that. I honestly thought too, like I don't remember what exactly his new album's going to be called, but I always had a thought that how he releases an album that he kind of comes out with like sort of like a deluxe version of that, and it kind of like spins off that, like growing up and getting old, or like what you see is what you get, then what you see ain't always what you get. Like I thought he was gonna do like something like Mothers and Sons. Like I thought he would ever do an album like release it on Mother's Day and be about like his mom and maybe his grandma and his wife or something. Maybe that's, a down the line thing, or maybe I'm just planting the seed now. But I don't know. I thought he was gonna do that honestly instead, just because I was like, oh, that would be kind of nice. Because you talk about like the men in your life that mean a lot, then also maybe too the women, just because like there's a lot of different factors that go into building a person, and they come from both sides of the coin. So I thought that would have been kind of cool to do that. Not that he ever won't do that. I just that's where I thought he was going next, I guess. But maybe I thought wrong. But what else was I gonna say? So I'm up in the air for him to see what else next year holds. And then Post Malone is playing Summerfest. I might catch that, but again, too, that's kind of a further trip for me. But I will have to see again what else next year holds. He just I don't know. He just seems like a lot of fun. I could totally see him playing Lambo. I really thought too if him and Jelly Roll would have extended their tour, that they would have either played Lambo or Camp Randall. That would have been my guesses, or like honestly American Family Field. I would see why they couldn't uh, do a show there together. Uh, so he would be up in the air. I'm not, big on his rap stuff. I do like, some of his things. Like I think "Circles" is a great song. I know that's not really rap. That's kind of more. I don't even know what you classify that as. Just kind of like more of just a pop song with a little, kind of guitar or whatever in there. But I don't know. I really like that he has many kind of different sides to him too, and he kind of seems to wear his influences on his sleeve. And I thought his country album, F1 Trillion, is great. I really love his country stuff a lot. So he'll be, really fun to see, and I hope he, kind of sticks with doing this stuff for a while. And if he did, a rock album too, that would be cool. I know he kind of did that a little bit with Hollywood is Bleeding, but not fully. Um, see. Journey announced their final tour. I should say the Final Frontier tour. I've never been a huge Journey person, but again, too, that's one definitely for the back burner right now, just to see what else kind of happens. It's hard to be kind of picky choosy like this, but it's kind of what I got to do. Uh, just because I've been trying the last couple of years, and I've been getting better with it, is like to kind of scale down the number of shows that I went to, just because like 2022 was insane, but it's like also like everybody was out touring and kind of hitting the ground running, and I was like, I want to see everybody that I can, so it was just nuts. And I think I went to 16 concerts that year, and it was fun, and I'm glad that I got to see everybody that I did, but at the same point it kind of also felt like a job to a certain point. And I don't really want to put myself through that again. And then, like the next year after that, it was probably like nine or something. And then I think 2024 was probably like seven, but also too, like three of those were during a festival. So, I mean, I count them as separate concerts, but so that was really kind of more like, five, I guess. So that wasn't horrible. And then this year has been five so far. Then I have my last show of the year next week. So it'll be six for the year, you know. The one kind of really wasn't much of a show because it was in my town, but, comedy show kind of Q&A thing, but it was fun. So I still count it. I count pretty much most of those events like that. I actually have a whole book that I write down all the shows I've been to, not of like, baseball and football and hockey games and things, but of like, concerts and comedians. And yeah, I'll have to make an episode about that sometime. I think it'd be really cool. Maybe at the end, after the last show of this year, maybe I'll have to go through like who I saw this year and kind of breaking down like my thoughts on their show, on their performances, and then maybe go back through like the list of everybody that I've seen. So then you could kind of get more of an idea of where I come from when I talk about different artists and shows and music. what was I gonna say? Oh, my boy Stavros Halkias is going on tour next year. I might either catch his show in Grand Rapids or in Milwaukee. Still up in the air. April's kind of not the greatest just because of you don't know what the weather can be at that time. There could still be some snowstorms and bad roads and things. So kind of try not to commit to stuff. Pretty much like May through like early November is pretty much in the clear. So it's actually funny sometimes when, people announce tours and they're like in the middle of winter and I'm like, well, I'm not going to that. It's kind of just easy to say no to, I guess, which helps me in a way, but it's like, damn, I would have liked to have been able to see them, but I don't feel like I really can because, it kind of, doesn't make me feel that great about doing that because you don't know what the weather's going to be. And it's like, I don't want to, be stuck in a storm or hit black ice or something. I've kind of only done that like a couple of times ever to where I've seen people in the winter. Like, I went to see Bert Kreischer, a couple of years ago, and it was in February, and there was a bad storm the day before, and I was like, oh crap, because I was like, come hell or high water, I was gonna make it to that, to his show, and it just worked out that the next day when I had to travel for his show, that the weather was fine. There was about 15 minutes to where the roads were crap, but then after that, it was pretty much all in the clear. But I was like, I really don't want to roll the dice like that again. But it's all just a learning process. So anyway, moral of the story is I try not to kind of go to any concerts probably like late November through like April really, just because I don't want to be out in the, crap weather and stuff. The only ones I would really do maybe in, March or April would be like if they were only, maybe an hour away and if I was going with, my parents probably, because I don't have to worry about something happening, just me being out on the road. So that's kind of my own thought. But anyway, yeah, Stavros, I really like him a lot. I've watched his, specials on YouTube, and I really liked his one on Netflix a lot. And I watched some of his podcast, and he's just a really funny guy, and he just feels like just so relatable to a lot of things. Maybe not as much as Shane Gillis like relatable, but he's just a really funny dude. He just really is, and he just keeps it 100% real. I feel like real and honest. I mean, most comedians do. They're just kind of letting it fly because especially on their podcasts. And speaking of Stavros, I really liked when he and oh, what's his name? When he took over Two Bears One Cave with Chris Stefano. That was just a riot for like those I think 6 episodes they did. I'd have to remember. But anyway, Stavros is, definitely becoming one of my favorite comedians. Rank is going up with me all the time, so I've really enjoyed him a lot. I'm hoping that he would, book a show in Green Bay or Appleton down the line, which I could see him doing that maybe in the fall if he does a, third leg of the Dreamboat tour that he kind of, hit just about everywhere. It's not guaranteed that he will do that, but it's just like he is doing a theater run, so I could see that happening for him because he's, doing pretty good numbers, I feel like. I would love to see if he ever did arenas. I think it will still be a while for him, but I could see it though. He's a very talented comic for sure. But that leaves me to thinking, I don't know. I'm just curious of what else is going to be announced next year. I would really hope that Metallica would do some dates in the States, but I'm not really feeling very strongly about that just because they have their European tour booked and they're not really playing as many shows as they once were. And I understand that, they're getting older, they, want time with their families, and also, too, it's like they don't really have to play any of these shows at all. It's, just for the love of the game, basically. I mean, at least for Metallica, what I do respect is that they're still out there, switching things up and, making new music. Just because there's bands like Kiss, for example, behind me, they just kind of, pulled the plug after Monster. They're like, well, nobody's ever going to like these songs or as much as like, classics, It's like, that may be true, but it's like the real diehard fans would love it, if you kept making new material, and I think that's what musicians are supposed to do. They don't have to. I'm just, a single fan, but, yeah, none of the new stuff will ever live up to the classics because it's just like the test of time, and also too, you have so many, memories associated with those songs. Like Paul Stanley says, these songs are like a snapshot of people's lives, and they remember exactly like where they were and who they were with and what was going on in their lives. That doesn't even have anything to do with the band, but just people associate, those songs with a moment like that, and I think that is so cool. But still though, I really wish that Kiss would make a new album. I think they really could, or even if Paul Stanley made a new solo album. I thought the Soul Station thing was kind of interesting, but it would be cool if he made like a rock album again, because I thought that Limp to Win was pretty good. So I mean that's been, I don't know, I think 20 years next year, so it's been a while. But again, too, as I mentioned before, like they don't have to do anything, and I mean they had a hell of a run, and I really enjoyed the end of the road tour. I saw three shows on that tour. But anyway, that was a side note. But yeah, I really don't know who else is going to get announced next year for shows. I'm wondering if Joe Rogan's going to do some dates possibly. I've never seen him, but I do like all of his specials. I really enjoy them a lot, and I like his podcast. I know it kind of sounds basic because it's the biggest podcast in the world, and like I sound like a real like podcast bro, but I'm just being honest. I enjoy it, and I've had a lot of good laughs, and I've learned a lot, different things, and I don't know, just never a dull moment with that. That's what a podcast should do, and that's what I hope to do with this, in a different way. But yeah. Oh, what else was I gonna say? Because he, talked about possibly, getting back on the road, because he thought about maybe doing a new hour. I wish he would have did that, before he recorded the Burn the Boat special, because he just kind of only did like shows in Texas, pretty much. I think mainly at his club, the Mothership, the Comedy Mothership. But and then he recorded his special in San Antonio, I think. But anyway, it would have been nice if he would have toured that material, though. But I guess too, maybe it was just the time being that after COVID, he just wanted to work it in the club, and you know, and he's also traveling for UFC and stuff. So it's like maybe he just was like, I'll just kind of, you know, mainly travel for that. So I guess I get that. Yeah, man. And then what else was I gonna say? I would like to see if Hailstorm would do some more headlining dates next year. I've never had a chance to see them. I would really like to. Hopefully, Ella Langley and Megan Moroney. I want to see what they do next year. I'm sure they're going to be announcing more tour dates for sure. Yeah, I think that's kind of like the main ones on like my radar. I'm sure like I say this now, then there will be other things that will pop up. I mean, there's crazy stuff that happens all the time. Like I really didn't think Rush was going to get back together, but they did. They would be the one that I would like to see. I looked at their set list, and it's like I would only really know like a handful of stuff, but maybe it's one of those situations, as I said before, like once you're there in the moment, it doesn't really matter because you're gonna hear it either way. Like I saw Cheap Trick years ago, and I only knew like two songs, and then I fell in love with a lot of their catalog after that. So maybe it could be the same way with Rush. I guess I'm just not as big into like that kind of style that they do. Like Rush is not a jam band. I know they're a progressive rock band, but to where they kind of have so many more extended like parts and things like that. I guess I'm not always a huge fan of that, but maybe I shouldn't knock it till I saw them live. So I could possibly catch one of the shows in Chicago. That would kind of be like the only one of theirs maybe that I would see. But again, too, it's just have to wait and see what else everything is going to be, because it's going to be kind of a couple of trips like for ACDC and Foo Fighters, kind of long trips. And speaking of that, I thought would be a fun thing that I may continue to do this as a segment in other episodes of my podcast is what I call the dream set list. So I put together a dream set list for Foo Fighters as if I was building it. This may not be necessarily like their greatest hits or their best songs, or favorites by like most fans and stuff. This is just my personal set list if I was Dave Grohl putting it together. So I gave them 25 tracks to play live. A lot of times I've looked at their current set list. They play anywhere from about like 18 to 25. So I mean, I was gonna just do 20, but it's hard to know because like I've seen from like their concerts I've watched on YouTube and stuff that they definitely could play more songs, but sometimes like they'll only be like two or three songs in and it's already like 15 minutes into the show, but it's just like they jam out like parts so much, and like and make them more extended. I mean, I think it's fun, but there's just part of me too. I'm like, man, you could play even more songs, but I guess I'm just always, kind of like that aspect in a way that it's like I see both sides of the coin. Is like I do like the kind of cool jam things that they do all the time. Like I thought it was cool in 2021 when they were doing the oh, what is it? I think it's like Hocus Pocus. I think they added that on to like the Pretender. I'd never heard that song before, but I just liked that jam. And I only found out like what that was because I think in parentheses on Setlist FM it showed like includes like Hocus Pocus. And anyway, I like that song now. I mean it's mainly an instrumental, but I still do like it. And it fit the Pretender well. I'm pretty sure, like I said, that's what they played that on. But that's kind of like my main kind of gripe with them, I guess, is that if they just, didn't jam out so much, then they could fit in more songs. But I do understand though that it does make it fun that way. Or I've liked too when they've thrown in like Cat Scratch Fever as like part of stuff. Or like even like when they play Monkey Wrench that like kind of Dave like holds that chord more and it's kind of like da 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 like before it actually like starts. That being said, if, I gave them, 25 songs to play for my set list if I was building it. I had seen, for one of their club shows that they played 25 songs. One of them they played 23. So I was like, why don't I just give them 25? Because a lot of times they play like 2.5 hour shows. Sometimes they played 3 hours. I don't know that they'd really be doing that again, the 3 hour shows. That's a little while ago now that they were kind of doing such long ones. But I really love it. But also, too, especially if you're playing a stadium, why wouldn't you want to be up there, as long as, you want, like, do, McCartney type shit to where you play for like 3 hours. But it's like the stage is yours, do what you want. So I respect that. Anyway, that being said, I gave Foo Fighters 25 songs for their set list, and starting off, I would have them open with Times Like These. That is my favorite song of theirs overall. I just love it so much. And probably the first day I ever listened to it, I probably listened to it like 4 times in a row after my initial listen. I just love that so much. Then at song number 2 of the set list, I would put All My Life. I know most shows they open with All My Life, but just for me, I think it would still work in as song number 2 of their concert. The Pretender I would put at number 3 because that seems to work good pretty early. I still wonder how Dave's voice holds up for the rest of the show because that is a hard song to sing and it's so like raspy and especially like the yelling like the "Who are you" part, like it's just so intense. You would almost think that would be like more of a song to close the set with, but it somehow works and he does it. So I mean, whatever works, keep doing it, Dave. Then at track number 4, I'd put "Learn to Fly." Just so solid, just hooks you right off the bat. Just do, 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 do. Anyway, I like that a lot. These days, that's just an impactful song in my opinion, and it just kind of cuts deep to me. I've always thought maybe I think differently than a lot of other people, but I've always liked These Days. Cold Day in the Sun, I know that may be more of a deep cut, but man, I just love that so much. I don't know exactly how they would do it now with Taylor being out of the band. Maybe, I guess, just Dave on an acoustic guitar, because I think he did do that a little bit during the Everything or Nothing But All tour. I think he might have did that a little bit, because I know he played Under You acoustically as well, I think, a different time, but, anyway, or even the full band doing "Cold Day in the Sun" is would be awesome. I watch that clip or at least listen to it like probably almost every day of "Cold Day in the Sun" from the Skin and Bones album. I love that so much. That's probably one of my favorite live versions of a song ever. It's so good. And then I would for song number 7, I would put "My Hero." I actually really like kind of that like acoustic version they do live, like sort of to where it kind of builds up. I really like that better than the main like studio version. if that makes sense. I like that. Uh, Song number 8, I would put Breakout. Uh, Song number 9, I kind of cheated here a little bit. I put either Stacked Actors or Rescued could work in that spot. There's some other places on this set list where I put Slashes as well, because I'm like, well, if they didn't play this, that would be also a good one in its place. So, Stacked Actors, I used to not really be a big fan of, but just all of a sudden I really got into it a lot. And I don't know, just like from the hook, it has such a different like sound, almost more like a one of those like baritone guitar things. Like it sounds different to me. I don't know if that's actually what was played on that, but it's so different, and I really like that a lot. And then Rope at song 10, again too. That's a song I used to not really care for very much either, but I really fell in love with it a few years ago, and I still love it because it hits so hard and it's just so badass. I love Rope. Um, 11, song 11. Again, this is one I cheated a little bit, but I put, either Big Me or Ain't It the Life. And Ain't It the Life is definitely one of my favorites too, especially from the Skin and Bones album. I love that so much. What I don't get though is why it's included, on the DVD, which I actually don't have, but I mean, what I mean more to say is like if you can watch that off YouTube, the version from the Skin and Bones concert, but it's not included, on the actual like album, like on Spotify. So it was like, why don't they have the live version of that? But I guess it wasn't that many tracks though for like just the like album thing, to where like the DVD I think had more. But I don't know why wasn't it just the same on both, the same number of tracks? I don't really get that. Song number 12, I'd put Long Road to Ruin. They don't really play that one a lot from what I've seen, but it's a damn good song. Another kind of newer one for song 13, I put Under You. I've loved that probably ever since I heard it for the first time. 14, I get an even newer song, the newest single, Asking for a Friend. I'd throw that in there. That would be awesome to hear. Track 15, Waiting on a War. See, the thing that I never understood with Waiting on a War was that they played it on Fallon and like a couple of other talk shows and stuff to kind of promote that. And they made the video. I know not every single that comes out for an album, Foo Fighters and other artists, alike, they're not always going to play those live. But it's just like it's such a damn good song, and just like the build up, and I was like, it would either be perfect like where I have it toward like kind of on the kind of right in the middle of the set just about, or it could be like towards the very end of the set, like it could work well there. I don't know why they don't play that live, if it's just too hard vocally or too intricate, or like what the deal is, because they played other songs live that kind of would seem trickier to me. But I'm from the outside looking in, and I don't know um exactly what's up with that. But I don't know, Waiting on a War I would love to hear. And then I probably could have put this one earlier in the set list, but at 16 I put Bridge Burning. It kicks ass. If I didn't have Times Like These as the opening song, probably would be Bridge Burning. I didn't know that song till like late in 2021, and then I saw that they threw it in the set list for when they were playing those couple of Vegas shows, and then I saw like clips of it that people had recorded. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And then I went back and listened to it, and yeah, I love Bridge Burning. Track 17, I put DOA. Again, another one that does not get played a lot. Song number 18, I would put Walk. That's a great one too. That kind of seems like a staple you'd have to have in there. And then for track 19, I'd put Nothing at All. Um, that seems like a pretty solid choice there. For track 20 is one that I'm cheating a little bit more here, but I put either Holding Poison or Medicine at Midnight. Uh, Both of those songs I hold near and dear to my heart, just because Medicine at Midnight, the album, I think is just a masterpiece in my opinion. I think it's my favorite album of the Foo Fighters overall, and I know maybe other like diehards and things might not like uh you know it that much, because I know it's kind of different from a lot of their other albums, or as Dave calls it, their dance record. But I've always enjoyed it a lot. And I know they played Medicine at Midnight live a little bit in 2021, but not a lot. It just kind of seemed like like really intricate, like the sounds with that, I guess, if that makes sense. Like the, little kind of background instruments there and stuff. But I wish they played that live. And then Holding Poison, as far as I know, I don't think they've ever played that live. I could be wrong, but it's just interesting that it's like it kind of seems like I shouldn't call them the basic song, but it seems like they have more complicated songs that they've, played live, but then they don't play Holding Poison. And even they used Holding Poison in the Studio 666 movie, and especially in the trailer, like they used it. So it was like they should play that. Um and then track song 2021. This again cheating as well. I put either Beyond Me, The Glass, or Show Me How could work well in that spot. I'd be happy with any of those. And then 22, I'd put The Sky as a Neighborhood. Love that song. That's a staple, so I'm sure I'll probably hear that when I see them. And then for 23, I would put either No Way Back or Best of You. I'm sure Best of You I will hear, and that's probably more where it would be towards the end of the set, which is pretty fitting for that. And then I put Monkey Wrench at 24. Then at 25, I put Everlong, just because, like, there are other songs that I like more than Everlong. Like, I don't think Everlong's a bad song by any means, but it kind of is just only fitting to end with Everlong. That being said, I also did a dream set list for ACDC as well. I just thought this would be kind of a fun thing to do, and I I think it's kind of cool on Spotify that they have their tour playlist. There's some other people that do that too, but in a way, like it kind of takes away like the specialty of like what songs they will actually play and whatever. I mean, in the internet age, you can look up any set list or you can see clips or you can watch full shows on YouTube, so it's not the same as what it was, but I don't know. So there's parts of me that go back and forth with that. But I gave them 22 songs to play for my ACDC set list because that's the amount of songs they're playing now. And some of these spots changed and some of them didn't. And there are also some songs that they were not playing at all that I threw in there. Again, just like with the Foo Fighters set list, this is if I was building the set list myself. Um, so I'd start off with If You Want Blood, which I already know they're doing that, and I'm so happy about it because I don't think they had barely ever like played that live, or especially not with Brian for like years and years. So I love that they switched it up with that. Ever since they did that uh when they did Power Trip and they started their set list with that, I was just like, what? And my mind was kind of blown. So that's probably my favorite ACDC song. I would have to say "If You Want Blood" because I remember years ago, like for um for traveling to football games, and I have that in my headphones, and that was just like blasting, and it just got me like pumped up for game day and stuff. Track number two, I put "Rock and Roll Train." I know it's a little early, but I feel like it would keep the momentum going. I also love that as an opening track, like especially like watching them play that live at River Plate. I like that a lot. So I also thought too, as I did with Foo Fighters, I thought I would do a dream set list for ACDC as well. I built my ACDC dream set list as if I was handpicking the songs myself. I gave them 22 songs to play, which is the amount of songs they're playing currently on their Power Up tour. So I'd started off, I would keep it the same as what they're currently opening with If You Want Blood, because that is my favorite ACDC song of out of any of them. That is my absolute favorite. I don't know why. It's more of a deep cut, but I guess what I just always associate with it is gearing up for football games and having that kind of pump me up in my headphones before. So I always think of that, and I really love playing that on my drum set too, and it just kind of goes so hard. Then song number two, I would put "Rock and Roll Train." I've just always thought that's a damn solid song too. If I wasn't gonna open the show with "If You Want Blood," I'd probably put "Rock and Roll Train," like they did on the Black Ice World Tour, and especially I think of the footage from the River Plate show, and that was just awesome with that. Then song number three, I would put "Shot Down in Flames," which That's probably my second favorite ACDC song. Just goes so hard. And that I listen to a lot before football games as well. So it kind of has some of those same memories for me. Song number 4, I would have them play You Shook Me All Night Long. I realize that's might be a little bit early for that, but they're also playing Thunderstruck like 4 or 5 songs in, and I think, Back in Black is like song number 2 for them. So it's like, do whatever you want. It's like, this is me building it, so I'm gonna do what I want. Track number 5, I would put Back in Black. I think it's just, solid there. Kind of keeps some momentum going. 6, I kind of cheated a little bit as I did like with the Foo Fighters. So some of these have some slashes next to each song. So it's like if that song doesn't work, these other ones could also. So I put High Voltage, or they could play Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution. I don't know that they've really played Rock and Roll Ain't Noise Pollution very much at all that I can think of. I mean, I have to look back at some set lists, but then number 7, I put Hell's Bells, which is probably similar to where Around It is on the actual set list. I think it works well there. 8, I put Shoot to Thrill, or What Do You Do for Money, Honey? Again, that's another one that they don't play very much at all. I realize I'm, getting into the weeds a little bit with the deep tracks, but it's, my set list, and Shoot to Thrill is definitely one of my top 5 ACDC songs too. I'm more personally a fan of Bon Scott's singing style, but for Brian Johnson songs, I'm not knocking him. I'm just saying, like, if you do have to pick one, that Bon is my favorite of the two. But favorite Brian Johnson song is "Shoot to Thrill." For song 9, I put either Sin City or "Let Me Put My Love Into You." I'd actually never heard "Let Me Put My Love Into You" until like I was lifting with some other people for football in high school. I had never heard that song before. And I figured I knew just about everything ACDC, and somebody was just playing that over their Bluetooth speaker one day. Yeah, it's kind of one of those more hidden tracks off Back in Black that wasn't, one of the big hits off of there. But I think it's just a solid song. And I know they're playing Sin City on the current tour, and I'm really happy about that. For song 10, I put Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. I think that just works well, kind of more towards the middle of the set. In spot 11, I would put Hell Ain't a Bad Place to Be. Love this song too. Definitely in my top 10. I know I was talking about top 5 earlier, but it moves up from where they have it in their set list, but I think it would work well here. Whole Lot of Rosie, I would put at song number 12. I know that's another one that's more towards the end of their set, but I think would work pretty well there too, kind of to be right in the middle. I know it's kind of a longer kind of jam out song, if that makes sense. But track 13, I would put Jailbreak. I think that would work really well there. I don't think they've played that in quite a while. I haven't, looked at every single set list of theirs. I think more of like the Razor's Edge tour, because I remember seeing footage from Donington of them playing that, and I thought it was awesome. I know that's a bomb song too. Still like Brian's version of that, and if I could have seen them on any tour, that definitely would have been one. Like for the Brian era, like if I wasn't, seeing them now, if I could pick and choose, probably would have been Razor's Edge, because they were just kicking ass. Not that they're not anymore, but I'm just saying it's a different thing, because that's also like over 30 years ago, that tour. Times have changed. People get older. They can't play with the same fire as they did. Not that they're bad. I'm not calling them that. I'm just saying that it's different when you're seeing someone when they're kind of more in their prime. No disrespect meant. And also, too, for track 14, I would put Rock and Roll Damnation. That's, another deep cut that you don't really hear them play a lot, but I'd really love to hear it. And I don't know that I've heard a version of Brian singing that. Probably has, but been quite a while. For track 15, I would put either Money Talks or Have a Drink on Me. I know Have a Drink on Me, is what they're playing, and I know that's kind of a staple, so I get that. So either one of those would work well in that spot. Then I put Highway to Hell a little later, but I think it would, work pretty good still. Then I would put one of the newer songs of either Shot in the Dark or Demon Fire, which I know they're playing both of those on this tour, or Witch's Spell is kind of, a deeper cut of those, but I think that could work well in that spot. They might have played that like a time or two on the first European leg. Speaking of kind of newer songs, not as new as Power Up, but for the next song, I'd either do Rock the Blues Away, Rock or Bust, or Play Ball. I know maybe not the strongest songs, but I was like, I really like to, hear one of those, especially Rock the Blues Away. I feel like is really underrated. After that, I'd have Thunderstruck. I think Thunderstruck personally is a little too early where they're playing it in their set list. for me, but that's why I put it later here than just like, not like they really ever let off the gas with how they play, just because they're so like up tempo and kind of go for it, like some are a little bit more laid back than others, like, rock and roll ain't noise pollution, but not really that much because they've never been ones that, do ballads and things like that. So, I mean, again, it's the mentality of like, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I respect that. I usually kind of lean more towards people, switching things up. But I guess too, it's like if you stick with what you know, then I'd have TNT, then I'd have Let There Be Rock, and then I would finish with For Those About to Rock, We Salute You, which I know that's what they close all their shows with anyway. But it's kind of like with the Foo Fighters and Everlong. I don't think you could close with anything else really. I know this is my dream set list and I can do whatever I want, but I don't know. It's just kind of so fitting, like the 21 gun salute send off with the cannons and everything. Like, I mean, what else would you really send with? What else are you going to really end with? So I know a lot of these will be in their set list again too. It's like this is my own personal set list. Did you guys ever think about stuff like this? Like if you could handpick a set list, what would you do? What would you do for Foo Fighters? What songs would you want ACDC to play? Let me know in the comments below and share any thoughts you may have on either of these set lists or what else I had to say about upcoming shows for next year or just some of my thoughts I had on the artists that I talked about. I love music. I love going to concerts. I love seeing comedians, comedy podcasts. I like watching movies. I don't really watch that many shows. I watch some here and there. I'm a big fan of comedy movies and of horror movies. I love comedians, and I've just fell in love with stand-up comedy over the last like 4 or 5 years. That's what a lot of this podcast is going to be about. It's not classified as like a music or a comedy. It's going to be more entertainment, I would say, because it kind of covers a little bit of everything. But it's just kind of sharing what I'm passionate about. I really wanted to start that with this channel and have a lot of fun with it. And I don't think I'll ever run out of ideas for episodes and things to talk about. There are just so many, and hopefully in the future I can have some other collaborators, or just kind of friends of mine to talk about different things with, or I'd like to rank movies or rank albums and stuff like that. So there's kind of a lot of neat things to come with this channel. I'm just going to have fun with it. I'm just going to enjoy what I'm doing, and that's all I can do. I do really, mean what I say about music and movies, and I'm just, big fan of pop culture and of entertainment. I just want to, kind of share that piece of me with the world, and hopefully maybe meet some cool people that way. If you liked this episode, follow, comment, like, subscribe. Just stick around for the journey of what's ahead, and I hope to catch you in the next episode.